Three beings descended from the heavens, so beautiful that grown men lost their minds at the sight of them. Look at them, they are ours. But they weren't men, they were angels sent by Allah to carry out His command, sent on a mission so terrible, so final, that when they touched the earth, entire cities would cease to exist. This is the story of Al-Mutafika, the place so corrupt, so twisted in its evil. We take what we want. That Allah sent angels to carry out a command so final that no city could survive it. And before this night ends, you'll understand why some sins don't just anger God. They erase civilizations, bring them out. No. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button so you never miss our stories, and send peace upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now let's go back to a time when the earth trembled and the sky wept stones of fire. The journey was long, but Luth alayhi salam walked it with purpose. Allah had spoken, a prophet had been made, and now he was being sent to the valleys of Jordan, to the cities of Sodom and the settlements around it. He didn't know what awaited him. He didn't know that he was walking toward a place where the very air was poisoned with sin. When Luth alayhi salam finally arrived at the gates of Sodom, he did what any messenger would do. He went straight to the king. No games, no hiding. He stood before the ruler of those lands and declared his mission plainly. I am a prophet of Allah. I have come to call your people to Islam, to guide them back to the Creator, to show them the straight path. The king leaned back, studying this stranger with curious eyes. Then he smiled at a politician's smile. Luth, you are free to preach whatever you wish, and the people are free to choose. But understand this. Don't force anyone, don't create chaos, don't start a revolution. The moment I sense danger from you, there will be consequences. Luth alayhi salam nodded. I only want to guide them, I only want to fix what's broken. Allah is my witness. The king waved his hand, permission granted, and so Luth alayhi salam began his life in Sodom. At first, he didn't fully understand what kind of place this was. He walked through the markets, observed the people, and listened to their conversations. He needed to know them before he could reach them. So he did what prophets sometimes do when they arrive in a foreign land. He married one of them. Her name was Wa'ila. It was a strategic move, a way to become one of them, to be accepted, to have a foothold. The Quran itself refers to them as his people. Not because he was born among them, but because he lived among them, tied himself to them through marriage. But then he saw it, the things they did in broad daylight, without shame, without hesitation. Men with men, openly, proudly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Luth alayhi salam felt his stomach turn. He had traveled far, seen many people, but nothing had prepared him for this. This wasn't just sin. This was a society built on it, a culture that celebrated it, a people who had normalized what should never be normal. And it got worse. The more he lived among them, the more he saw. They weren't just indulging in their desires, they were aggressive about it. Travelers who passed through the city targeted, strangers abused. There was no protection for the outsider here, no honor, no decency. Luth alayhi salam stood in the center of Sodom one evening, watching the sun set over a city that looked peaceful from a distance. But he knew better now. He knew what happened when the darkness came. He knew what voices echoed through these streets at night. He whispered to himself, barely audible, "What have I walked into?" And somewhere deep inside, a terrible truth settled into his bones. This wasn't just another city that needed guidance. This wasn't just another person who had lost their way. This was a place where evil had made itself at home, where wickedness sat on thrones, where corruption wore a crown. Luth alayhi salam had walked into hell on earth, and now his real mission was beginning. Days turned into months, months turned into years, and Luth alayhi salam kept speaking. He would find them at their gathering places, in their town squares, wherever they assembled. He'd stand before them and say what needed to be said. What you're doing is wrong. No nation before you has ever done this. You approach men with desire instead of women. You've gone beyond all limits." They would listen, then they would laugh. Not the nervous laughter of people confronted with truth. No, this was the laughter of people who genuinely believed he was the crazy one. They'd look at each other, smirking, shaking their heads. Then one of them would speak up. "Luth, you want us to stop? You think we're the dirty ones?" The crowd would snicker. "We are the ones who purify ourselves. We are clean. You're the outsider trying to corrupt our ways." It was madness, complete inversion of reality. They had taken their sin and dressed it up as virtue, and anyone who opposed it, they were the problem. Luth, alayhi salam, realized something chilling. You can't reason with people who've made evil their identity. So he adjusted his strategy. He started working outside the city, far from their eyes, far from their reach. He had land there, crops to tend, work to keep him busy. But that wasn't the real reason he stayed outside. The real reason, to intercept travelers before they entered Sodom. Picture it. A man on the road, dust on his clothes, heading toward the city to rest for the night. And there's Luth, alayhi salam, stepping into his path. "Brother, please don't go in there. You don't know what they do to strangers. I'm warning you for your own safety." Some listened, most didn't. And those who went in anyway, Luth, alayhi salam, would hear about what happened to them later. It haunted him. Every evening as the sun dipped low, he'd return to the city, not to rest, but to preach again and again. He'd plead with them, remind them of Allah, warn them of consequences. Turn back before it's too late. This path only leads to destruction. Their patience was wearing thin. One night a group of them cornered him. The tone had shifted. No more laughter. Now there was anger. "Luth, we've had enough. Stop this nonsense. Stop telling us how to live. You want to change our entire way of life. We've thrown out people like you before, and we'll do it again. One more word, and you're gone. Turn from your wicked ways before it is too late. Your words are dust. Leave us in peace. You bother everyone." It wasn't an empty threat. He could see it in their eyes. They meant it. But what broke him more than their threats was what waited for him at home. His own wife, Wa'ila, the woman he'd married to build bridges with these people. She'd look at him with barely concealed contempt. She agreed with them, not him. When he'd speak about Allah, about morality, about the natural order, she'd roll her eyes. When he'd return exhausted from preaching, she'd mutter under her breath about how he should just leave people alone. He was a stranger in his own house. A prophet without a family, a voice crying out in a city that had gone deaf. And the worst part, only his 2 daughters believed him, just 2 souls in an entire civilization. That was it. Luth, alayhi salam, would lie awake some nights staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of it all. He'd given years to these people, years of his life, and what did he have to show for it? Nothing but mockery, threats, and a wife who wished he'd just stop being a prophet. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. Because somewhere beyond this wicked city, beyond these deaf ears and hard hearts, Allah was watching, and Luth, alayhi salam, knew that this couldn't go on forever. It was an ordinary afternoon. Luth, alayhi salam's daughter, had gone to fetch water from the well near the city gates, the same routine she'd done 100 times before. But when she lifted her head from the bucket, she froze. 3 men stood at the entrance to the city, but they weren't just men. There was something about them, something that made her heart stop. Their faces were flawless, almost glowing. Their presence commanded attention without them saying a word. She'd never seen anyone like them. No one had. And immediately she knew, if these strangers walked into Sodom, they were finished. She dropped everything and ran. Her sandals slapped against the dirt road as she sprinted toward the fields where her father was working. "Father, Father!" She was out of breath, panic in her voice. Luth, alayhi salam, looked up, alarmed. "What's wrong?" "There are men at the gate. Young men, I've never seen faces like theirs. So beautiful, so perfect. Father, if they enter this city, you know what will happen. The people will destroy them. Please, you have to stop them." His blood went cold. Not again, not more travelers walking into a trap. He dropped his tools and rushed toward the city walls. And when he saw them, he understood exactly what his daughter meant. These weren't ordinary travelers. There was an otherworldly quality to them, a beauty that didn't belong to this earth. Luth, alayhi salam, felt a strange unease, but also duty. They were strangers. They needed help. One of them spoke, his voice calm and gentle. "We need a place to stay for the night. Can you help us?" Every instinct in Luth, alayhi salam's body, screamed at him to say no, not because he didn't want to help, but because he knew what this city would do. He thought fast. Maybe he could redirect them. "Brothers, where are you headed? Perhaps there's another town nearby, a safer place." "We'd like to stay here," he tried again. "Listen, this city, the people here aren't like other people. They're dangerous, especially to strangers, especially to men who look like..." He gestured vaguely, hoping they'd understand. They didn't respond. They just looked at him, waiting. Luth, alayhi salam, felt trapped. These were guests. To turn them away would violate every code of honor he had. But to bring them in... He glanced back at the city walls, imagining what would happen once word spread. His mind raced. Maybe if he brought them in quietly, maybe if no one saw them. "All right," he finally said, shame creeping into his voice. "Follow me, but please stay close. Don't speak to anyone." He began walking ahead of them, and they followed in silence. As they moved through the outskirts, Luth, alayhi salam, tried again. Subtle hints, desperate attempts to make them reconsider. "You know, the people here, they're the worst people on earth. Truly, I've traveled far, and I've never seen a nation more corrupt." Silence. They do things, terrible things, things no other nation has ever done. Still nothing. They just walked calm and unbothered as if they hadn't heard a word. Luth, alayhi salam, stopped and turned to face them, frustration and fear mixing in his chest. "Why won't you listen? Don't you understand what I'm trying to tell you?" Their faces remained serene, no fear, no concern, just watching him. A cold realization washed over Luth, alayhi salam. Something was wrong. Normal men would be asking questions by now. Normal men would be nervous. But these three, they were too calm, too knowing. He turned back toward his house, his heart pounding. As the door came into view, he whispered under his breath, not to them, but to himself, to Allah, to anyone who might hear. "This is a day of terrible hardship." He didn't know how right he was. The door closed behind them with a soft thud, and for a brief moment, Luth, alayhi salam, allowed himself to exhale. They were inside, safe, hidden from the eyes of the city. No one had seen them enter. He offered them water, gestured for them to sit. His daughters moved quietly through the room, preparing something for the guests to eat. The three strangers settled in, still calm, still silent. Everything seemed fine, but Waila, his wife, stood near the doorway. She'd seen them when they entered, seen their faces, and something had sparked in her eyes, something Lut, alayhi salam, was too distracted to notice. She lingered for a moment, watching the strangers, then slipped toward the back of the house quietly, carefully. She glanced over her shoulder once to make sure no one was paying attention. Then she disappeared into the night. Her feet moved quickly through the darkened streets, her heart racing not with fear, but with excitement. She knew exactly where to go, the gathering place where the men of the city spent their evenings. She pushed through the crowd until she found a group of them lounging, talking, laughing. "You won't believe what I just saw," she said, breathless. They looked up, curious. "Lut has guests, young men, and I swear by everything, I have never seen anyone more beautiful. Not in this city, not anywhere." The air shifted. Conversation stopped. Heads turned, eyes widened. 3 men at Lut's house? Right now? She nodded, a twisted smile playing on her lips. Right now. That's all it took. Within minutes, the word had spread like fire through dry grass. Lut has guests, young men, strangers, beautiful strangers. The city went mad. Men poured out of their homes, calling to each other, gathering in groups. The excitement was sickening. They moved through the streets like a pack, voices rising, laughter echoing off the walls. This wasn't just curiosity, this was hunger, twisted, unrestrained hunger. Back at the house, Lut, alayhi salam, was still trying to make his guests comfortable when he heard it. Faint at first, distant voices, footsteps, then louder, closer, the sound of a crowd. His stomach dropped. No, 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 no. He moved to the window and peered out into the darkness. Torches, dozens of them, men walking toward his house, too many to count, and their voices shouting, laughing, calling his name. Lut, we know you have guests. His blood turned to ice. How? How did they know? He'd been so careful. No one had seen them. He'd brought them in quietly through the edges of the city, avoiding the main roads. His mind raced, trying to piece it together. Then he turned and scanned the room. His daughters were there, terrified. The strangers sat calmly, unbothered. But his wife? Where was his wife? His eyes darted around the house. She wasn't there. And in that instant, he knew. The realization hit him like a stone to the chest. She told them, his own wife, the woman who shared his home, the mother of his children, she had betrayed him. The voices outside grew louder, more aggressive. Fists started pounding on the door. Open up, Lut! Don't make us break it down! His daughters clutched each other, trembling. The strangers remained still, their expressions unreadable, and Lut, alayhi salam, stood frozen in the center of his own home, the weight of betrayal crushing him from the inside. His wife had just sentenced him and his guests to a nightmare. The pounding on the door grew heavier. The voices were more frenzied. The crowd was growing, swelling. The entire city was coming, and there was nowhere to run. Lut, alayhi salam, pressed his back against the door, his hands shaking, his mind screaming one desperate question: what do I do now? Outside, the mob roared his name. Inside, the strangers finally stood. The house was completely surrounded. Torches flickered in every direction, casting wild shadows against the walls. The voices outside had merged into a single roar. Demands, threats, laughter. They weren't asking anymore. They were taking. Lut, send them out. We know they're in there. Don't make this difficult. We just want to meet your guests. Lut, be a good host. The mockery was sickening. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they didn't care. Lut, alayhi salam, felt his chest tighten. He couldn't let them in. He couldn't. But the door was shaking from the pounding. They were going to break through. He had seconds to make a decision. He opened the door just enough to slip outside, pulling it shut behind him before anyone could see inside. The crowd pressed in immediately, faces twisted with excitement, eyes gleaming in the torchlight. Lut, where are they? He raised his hands, trying to calm them, trying to find something, anything that would reach whatever humanity they had left. Listen to me, please. His voice cracked. These are my guests. Do you understand? They're under my protection. Have you no fear of Allah? Have you no shame? They laughed. Actually, I laughed. Shame. We're not the shameful ones. Lut, you are. He tried again, desperation bleeding into his words. If it's the desire you want, take the women, your wives, the daughters of this city. They are lawful for you, that's what Allah created them for, but leave these men alone. For a moment there was silence. Then one of them stepped forward, grinning. Lut, you've been here long enough. You know we don't want women. The crowd erupted in agreement. Shouts, jeers. We want them, Lut. Send them out. Stop wasting our time. Lut, alayhi salam, felt the ground tilt beneath him. These weren't people anymore. They'd given themselves over completely. There was no reasoning, no plea that would work. "Open the door, Lut! Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" They started pushing, shoving him aside, reaching for the door. Lut, alayhi salam, threw himself against it, pressing his full weight to keep it closed. But he was one man, and they were dozens, 50, 100, the entire city. The wood groaned under the pressure. His feet slid against the dirt. He could feel the door bowing inward, the hinges starting to give. "Stop, please," he shouted, but his voice was drowned out. Inside, his daughters were sobbing. He could hear them through the door. But the strangers, still silent, still sitting, as if none of this concerned them. Why weren't they helping? Why weren't they afraid? The door cracked. A splinter shot across the frame. Lut alayhi salam felt his strength giving out. His arms were shaking. His back ached from the pressure. He was alone, completely alone. No tribe to defend him, no sons to stand beside him. No neighbors came to his aid, just him, against an entire city of madness. And in that moment of crushing helplessness, something broke inside him. Not the door, him. He tilted his head back, tears streaming down his face, and cried out, not to the people but to the sky. "If only I had strength against you, or could seek refuge in some powerful support." It was the cry of a man who had nothing left, a prophet abandoned by his people, a father unable to protect his home, a believer standing at the edge of absolute despair. The door cracked again, louder this time, and then a voice, calm, steady, from inside the house. He froze. One of the strangers had finally spoken. "Step away from the door." Lut, alayhi salam, turned his head, still braced against the door, sweat dripping down his face. The strangers were standing now, all three of them. And for the first time since they'd arrived, there was something different in their eyes, something that made the air feel heavier. One of them stepped forward. His voice was unlike anything Lut, alayhi salam, had ever heard. Not loud, but it filled the entire room. It didn't just reach his ears, it reached his soul. "Lut, we are not men." The words hung in the air. "We are messengers of your Lord. We are angels, and we were sent here for one reason, to destroy this city and everyone in it." Time stopped. Lut alayhi salam felt his knees weaken. Angels, these weren't travelers. These weren't victims needing protection. They were heaven's executioners. "They will not reach you." The angel continued, "Step away from the door." Before Lut alayhi salam could respond, one of them, Jibreel alayhi salam, the greatest of all angels, moved toward the door. He opened it calmly, as if there wasn't a raging mob on the other side. The crowd surged forward, hands reaching, voices screaming. But Jibreel alayhi salam simply raised his wings. One sweep, that's all it took, one gentle motion as if brushing away dust. Lut. They were struck with sudden blindness, stumbling in terror, unable to see. The screaming changed. It wasn't exciting anymore, it was confusion, terror. Men stumbled backward, crashing into each other, hands flying to their faces, feeling the emptiness where their eyes used to be. What happened? I can't see, I can't see. My eyes, where are my eyes? They scattered like broken animals, crawling, stumbling, feeling their way along the walls back to their homes. But even in their blindness, even in their agony, they shouted threats. "Luth! When morning comes, we'll be back. You're finished. This isn't over." Their voices faded into the darkness, and silence reclaimed the night. Luth alayhi salam stood at the doorway, staring at the empty street, his mind struggling to process what had just happened. He turned back to the angels, his voice barely a whisper. Who are you?" "We are messengers of your Lord, angels sent by Allah to end this place." The lead angel said simply, "We have been sent by Allah to end this place. And Luth, your time here is over." "What do I do?" "Take your family. Leave tonight. Travel under the cover of darkness and do not look back, not once. Do you understand? Do you understand? Luth, alayhi salam, nodded quickly. Yes, yes, I'll take my wife and daughters. Your wife will not leave with you. He froze. What? She is one of them, Luth. Her heart belongs to this city. She will betray you even now. When you leave, she will look back and she will perish with the rest. The words cut deeper than any blade, but Luth, alayhi salam, knew they were true. He'd known for years. When? He asked, his voice shaking. When will it happen? At dawn. Luth, alayhi salam's eyes widened. Dawn. That's soon, but it wasn't soon enough. Not after everything they'd done, not after tonight. No, he said, his voice rising. Do it now. Destroy them now. Don't wait. They don't deserve another second of life. The angel looked at him with something close to compassion. Dawn is near, Luth. Isn't it close enough? And in that question, Luth, alayhi salam, heard the finality. The judgment had already been written. The sentence already passed. There would be no delay, no mercy, no second chance. Dawn was coming, and with it, the end of Sodom. The night was thick and silent as Luth, alayhi salam, led his two daughters away from the city. No torches, no voices, just the sound of their footsteps against the dirt road. His wife walked behind them, reluctant, dragging her feet. She didn't want to leave. Even now, even after everything, her heart was still in Sodom. Keep moving, Luth, alayhi salam, whispered. Don't stop, and whatever you hear, don't look back. They walked faster. The city shrank behind them, swallowed by the darkness. Minutes passed, then an hour. The sky was still black, but dawn was approaching. Luth, alayhi salam, could feel it, and then silence. A deep, unnatural silence. The kind that presses against your ears, the kind that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. Then a sound. Not loud at first, just a low rumble, like distant thunder. But it grew and grew until it wasn't thunder anymore. It was the earth itself groaning, cracking, screaming. Luth, alayhi salam, stopped walking, his heart pounding. His daughters clutched his arms. They wanted to turn around, they wanted to see, but he held them firm. Don't look back. Behind them, something impossible was happening. Jibreel, alayhi salam, had descended into Sodom. He stood at the center of the 7 cities, Sodom, Gomorrah, and the 5 settlements around them. And with the edge of his wing, the very tip, he reached beneath the earth. And he lifted. The ground didn't just shake, it rose. All 7 cities, homes, streets, markets, temples, everything, lifted into the air as if they weighed nothing. Up, higher, higher, past the clouds, past the place where birds fly, up to the edge of the heavens themselves. The angels above looked down in awe, and they heard it. The sounds of life from the rising cities, roosters crowing, dogs barking, the faint voices of people waking, unaware that their world was no longer on the ground. Then Jibreel, alayhi salam, flipped them upside down. The top became the bottom, the sky became the ground, and he let go. They fell. 7 cities, thousands of souls plummeting back toward the earth, and as they fell, the sky opened. Not with rain, with stones, burning stones, rocks of baked clay, scorching hot, hurtling down like missiles. And each one was marked, destined by Allah for its target. No one would escape their judgment. Luth, alayhi salam, heard the impact. The earth didn't just crack, it shattered. The cities didn't land on the surface, they were driven into it, buried, consumed. The ground caved in, collapsing on itself. And from the depths, water erupted, hot, bitter, undrinkable. It filled the massive crater where Sodom once stood. The Dead Sea was born. But Luth, alayhi salam's wife, couldn't help herself. Despite the warning, despite everything, she turned her head. Just one glance, one look back at the city she loved more than her own family, and in that instant, her body seized, her skin hardened, her flesh crystallized. She perished with those who were destroyed, frozen mid-step, a monument to disobedience. Luth, alayhi salam, didn't see it happen. He kept walking, pulling his daughters forward, away from the destruction. But he knew, he felt it in his bones. She was gone. The stones didn't stop at the city limits. Travelers on distant roads, merchants miles away, if they were from Sodom, their stone found them. No one escaped, not a single soul. When the sun finally rose, Luth, alayhi salam, stood on a hill, looking back at what used to be a valley of cities. Now a smoldering lake, smoke rising, silence. He turned and walked toward the land of Ibrahim, alayhi salam. When he arrived, the older prophet looked at him, already knowing. "It's done," Luth, alayhi salam, said quietly. Ibrahim, alayhi salam, nodded. No words were needed, and the lesson was carved into history forever. Some sins don't just anger God. They erase entire civilizations. They remove nations from existence. They turn thriving cities into cursed wastelands that no one dares approach. Sodom didn't just fall, it was deleted. And the place where it once stood remains a scar on the earth to this very day, a reminder that Allah's patience has limits. And when those limits are crossed, His justice is absolute.